Hi, it's Wanda Bader here from Strategize Your Success, and today I'm going to be interviewing Chantal Schutz. Did I pronounce it right?
That was a good, yeah, that was good.
That was good. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm so excited to get to know a lot more about your business because I know you have a lot of very interesting things going on your end. So your business is called Power in Numbers. Can you tell me a little bit about how you came up with that name, because it's a very interesting name?
Yeah, that's a really good question. As an accountant, I've always found that people were quite afraid of numbers, and they really think that numbers are really mysterious. But what I've been able to figure out, which has helped me become successful as an accountant, is that our numbers are actually quite powerful, and they can really help us in so many areas in our life, not just in business. So there are power in numbers, and even just in terms of when we work together as a team. So the more people that we have on our team and that can help us and that we can be with, there's more power to us. So when I was trying to come up with a more creative name for my company other than just Chantal the Accountant, I thought, well, what better name than to actually really use what I believe numbers to be, which is they're very powerful.
Yeah. And so you have not just a coaching business, you have a brick and mortar business. So how do you do both of those things at the same time?
Right. So about a year ago, well, it's been a little bit over a year now, I opened a company called Cloud9 Nail Bar with a business partner. And I've had a lot of really great mentors and coaches and advisors throughout my career. And I spent a lot of time watching those people who were very successful and who did a really good job at managing their business and not losing their mind. So the one thing that I learned was that as a business owner, it's really important for us to work on our business and not so much in our business. So while I was planning Cloud9 and really thinking about what that was going to look like and how I was going to be able to own a business as well as still practice as an accountant and an advisor, I made a very concerted effort right from the get-go that we were going to work on our business as business partners, not in our business. So we hired a really amazing team of women that work with us. We have a manager who is empowered and has been really well trained on how to run the business day to day without us having to step in. In fact, so much so that 5 weeks after we opened the business last year, my partner Wendy went away for a 5-week holiday, and I went away for a 1-week holiday. So right from the start, we implemented systems and processes and procedures just to help the business do what it was meant to do, and that is fairly simple. It's doing people's nails and giving pedicures. But we started as we plan to continue.
So now that you have this freedom, you found that coaching was the next step for your business in working, I guess, a little bit differently than your typical CPA firm would do.
Yeah, exactly. So even as an auditor, way back when I was becoming an accountant and I was with Pricewaterhouse and with KPMG, I always found the most fascinating part of my job was going into these companies and speaking with the people who worked there. I had one client and they made the liquid eggs for McDonald's here in Canada, and I used to just get so excited to go there every year and do the audit and go out into the production floor and watch the eggs come, out of the storage area and go through the conveyor belt. And I know it sounds quite silly, but that's what really fired me up about what I was able to do as an accountant. Also working with my staff and really helping them learn and grow in their career. So it was a very natural transition for me to want to take that passion for learning and teaching and really understanding what makes a business happen from behind the scenes rather than just a set of financial statements, and use that as a way to help other business owners and do what I love to do.
Well, I think that what you're doing is really important, and it seems like I'm sure that you have a lot of people coming to you with a variety of different issues. So can you give me an example of what your typical client issue is when they come to you? What do you hear over and over again that you help people with?
Yeah, so the typical things I hear are I'm working too hard and not making enough. My bookkeeper is confusing the heck out of me. They send me these reports. I don't know what they mean. Another really common one is I don't even look at my numbers. It's the last thing I want to look at. I don't use my numbers to run my business. Another one is it's just so complicated, or I don't have time. So, and those are all really, really great reasons why someone might be ignoring their numbers, but those are typically the things. And, you know, sometimes it's even a case of I can't even sleep at night because my numbers are scaring me so much. I don't know how I'm going to, you know, get to the end of the month, or how is it that, you know, my company is doing X, Y, and Z, but we still don't have profit. We still don't have cash flow. And in fact, they're not using those particular words because those words come later when they start to find the power in their numbers. But that's the essence of what I'm hearing.
Okay. So typically what type of business owners do you, you know, really enjoy working with? What's your ideal type of client?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I would say there's not a particular industry or a type of business. It's the kind of person. So if I have a person coming to me that says, I really need help, I really want to fix this, I'm willing to do what it takes, that kind of person and business I want to work with. There's a lot of people out there that you know, have really exciting businesses, and they have these complaints or these comments or these feelings, but they don't want to do what it needs to get done to make the shift. So for me, it's more there needs to be a personal connection. And once I feel that, you know, I don't want to say, oh, every business is the same, but there's principles that are consistent throughout business. So, I mean, I just love all kinds of businesses.
Okay. So is there a certain size, you know, are you looking at entrepreneurs up to like large corporations that you work with? Or is there, you know, is there a break somewhere where you know, work with a certain type of individual better than another as far as income?
Yeah. So I have worked with companies of all sizes. I was previously a chief financial officer of a very large healthcare company. We started at $12 million when I started with them, and within 100 staff. With 18 months, we were up to 24 million and over 200 staff. So I'm certainly comfortable at that level. However, I really like the more intimate type of advisory type work you can do with smaller owner-managed businesses. So right now, the type of business owners I'm targeting, generally, they've been in business about 2 years, so they've got a little bit of you know, they've been around, they've sort of figured out what's working and what's not working. They probably have a bookkeeper, and they're probably, you know, under the $2 million mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it with today's technology that are you looking for people who like to embrace that, or it doesn't matter? It's like however they like to come in, you work with them in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, so actually that is something that I feel makes me unique compared to some of the people within this industry. And I really truly believe that being able to go and be hands-on in the business, I've used that example of the egg factory and being able to go and see what's really happening is highly beneficial to me and the business owner. So my preference actually is to go and visit people physically where they're at, because that helps me meet them where they're at much, much quicker. However, working remotely is also a possibility, but my preference is I want to go see what you do. I want to spend a day in your business. I want to, meet your staff. I want to meet your spouse. I want to see what it's all about. So.
Okay, well, it seems like you actually give people quite a bit of flexibility then, with you being able to go and see what their business is all about, because I think, you're sort of like how I would look at a mortgage person. You know probably more about the individual than, family members do once you start working with their numbers. So do you have any stories to share about some successes that you've had and what you've been able to do for any particular clients?
Yeah. So my most recent client, I went off to West Virginia from Vancouver. And there is no direct way to get to West Virginia from Vancouver. And this client and I, we really connected because she is in the beauty industry as well as I am. And she felt that was a fairly important part of what I was going to bring to the table, that I understand her industry intimately. And, I got there and we started sort of going down one path, and before you knew it, it's a whole can of worms opened up in terms of where the real issues with her numbers were happening. And the really interesting thing is they weren't actually happening in her business. As a sole business owner, it was more what was happening after the money left the business. It was the conversations that her and her family were having about money and how she wanted to grow her business. And I think we did about 20 intense hours over the 2 days that I was there. And it even involved going out for dinner with her husband and her 2 children, and having conversations with her, even her children, about money and how to properly manage money and how they might think about saving for college. I mean, I had no clue that that's what I was walking into. But as an experienced professional, you know how to ask the right questions, because generally what I have found is that what people think is the problem is very rarely what the real problem is. So she's now well on her way to changing the way that she does work within her business. She has learned to know what her value is so that she can allocate her time properly. Her family understands a little bit better what she's trying to do, and why it's important that they allocate financial resources in certain ways and her time resources in certain ways. So she's well on her way now to creating the business that she always wanted to have, that she was really struggling to get to. And we're hoping that in about a year from now, she's going to franchise what she's got, because it's a really fabulous model.
So if that does happen, you'll still be able to help her. Do you specialize in doing franchise type businesses?
Yeah, so I also worked with a franchise company here in my hometown, which is a little shocking because it's not a really big place. And again, what she thought the issue wasn't what the issue was. So I came in at a point in time when her franchisees and her were having a lot of disagreement, and she had a business partner that it wasn't working. So in that particular case, it was almost like I was a mediator. I was a mediator between her and her franchisees, and I was a mediator between her and her partner, who she subsequently ended up buying out. And we identified that one of the problems that she had was that she didn't have a really good model in place to be vetting out the people that should and could be buying her franchise. So just because someone could write a check didn't necessarily mean that they knew how to run a business. So we put in a process to help her vet out the right and the wrong people in terms of who was going to open a franchise. And we also put in a process for her to buy her business partner out over time. So again, you know, what she thought I was coming in to help her with turned out to be completely different.
Right. Well, that's a great story. I'm sure you have a ton of them to share with us. But, you know, I'm going to have one last question for you is, you know, I'd love to hear why people got into the occupation that they're in. So what was it that, you know, when did you know that this is the route that you wanted to take in your life? And, you know, why are you so passionate about it?
Oh, you know, I thought becoming an accountant like nobody's business. Everyone told me, oh, you're going to be an accountant when you grow up. You're so good with numbers. And I thought, no, I hate numbers. I don't want to work with numbers. I even forced myself to fail grade 11 math just to prove to everyone that I was terrible with numbers. I went to university and I actually got a degree in entrepreneurial management because I wanted to be a business owner. I didn't want to be an accountant. And I worked at a bank at the time. And I thought I'd go through the bank training program to learn a little bit more about that. And after 4 years of working at the bank as a teller, sadly, they did not want to support me in the management training program. So, yeah. So I saw this really great brochure, and I'm just being completely honest with you here because there's no sense in not being. But I saw this great brochure for Pricewaterhouse, and there was young people like me playing baseball and having a great time. And I thought, oh, that's where I want to work. I want to go work with people that have a good time and do fun things. So I called them up and on a Monday morning, and Friday afternoon I was on a helicopter across the mainland because I lived on the island at the time, and I had 5 interviews in one day with a partner and a manager and all these people, and by the time I got home that night, they had left me a message saying, okay, the job's yours and you start in 2 weeks. So I very much sort of fell into the profession almost by accident. And my very first partner, who is still my mentor to this day, I meet with him several times a year, he said to me, you are the greenest person who has ever walked through the doors of this company, and you're meant to do great things and work with people in ways that are not going to be traditional in our profession, but I have no idea how you're going to get there. So I did everything I could to not be an accountant, but ultimately I became an accountant. So, yeah.
And there it is, right? That's a great story. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was so great getting to know you more and know more about your business. And if you need to get a hold of Chantal, what you want to do is, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Probably an email is good. It's chantal@powerandnumbers.ca. Or also heading over to my website because there's contact form there. And that is also powerandnumbers.ca. Okay,
great. Well, thanks again. And everybody, if you need some assistance with your finances and you need help with your power and numbers, then you've got the right person here to get in touch with. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Wanda.